Everyone, my name is Sunny Mullen, the Director of Outreach with Help Hope Live. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to give people a minute or so to trickle into the room, and then we will get going with our Hope Talk of thriving after spinal cord injury. So thank you again for joining us, and we will get started in just 1 minute. For some housekeeping, there is the chat that you can feel free to utilize. The panelists and the audience members have access to that. Those of you watching, we will not be able to see you, but we can see your chat. There's also the Q&A section if you would like to put any questions in there or in the chat. And there will be a recording that gets sent out within 24 to 48 hours. So everyone will have access to that as well. And then this will live on our YouTube page as well. So don't fear if you can't stay for the entire hour or any of that. With all of that said, again, my name is Sunny Mullen. I'm the Director of Outreach with Help Hope Live. And this is our Hope Talk on thriving after spinal cord injury. I want to thank our panelists for joining us today. This is the third in our series with our panelists, Kelley Simoneaux and Josh Basile. And joining us today is Andrew Skinner. So I'm going to let the three of them introduce themselves. Kelley, if you'd like to go ahead.
Thanks, Sunny, and thank you, Help Hope Live. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelley Brooks Simoneaux. I sustained a spinal cord injury when I was 16 years ago, or 16 years old. I'm not telling you how many years ago. And I was, it caused me to become a paraplegic. So I've been rolling through life since then. Since that time, was thankful to be able to go on and graduate high school and college and law school, and ultimately start my own law firm called the Spinal Cord Injury Law Firm, where I have the pleasure of helping people with spinal cord injuries and other catastrophic injuries in their journeys. So thanks. I'm glad to be here today.
Absolutely. We're happy to have you. Josh?
Hey, Sunny. It's great to be here as well. Thanks for always having us. My name is Josh Basile, and my journey was flipped upside down as a teenager 20 years ago. I was 18 at the time. I was on a family vacation at the beach. A wave came behind me, picked me up, threw me over my boogie board, and slammed me headfirst against the ocean floor. And that day I heard a loud crack and was paralyzed below my shoulders. I was face down in the water, unable to move, unable to scream for help, and luckily my friends saw me floating and they pulled me to shore. It was a start to a new life, and I was on a ventilator for the first 4 weeks of my injury. Was able to wean off of it, and when I came home, I returned to school, went to community college, then undergrad, and graduated magna cum laude from law school. And now I practice an attorney and doing medical malpractice and catastrophic injury work across the country. And I have a foundation called Determined to Heal, and Spinalpedia is our video mentoring network. And it's a pleasure to be here today. And I am a Help Hope Live ambassador, which I love Help Hope Live. What we do, what Help Hope Live does every day is changes lives.
Thank you so much. And to our new friend, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor and privilege. I love Help Hope Live, and a big fan of Kelley and Josh and all that you guys do for the community. So I also have a spinal cord injury. I got injured in 2004. I was fresh out of college and had landed a great job and had met the girl of my dreams and thought I was on top of the world, and went to celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday with my family at a cabin up in the mountains, and it happened to be a winter wonderland. It had snowed like crazy, and we'd spent our days playing in the snow, sledding and having snowball fights and building snowmen and sledding. And my cousin and I were goofing off on our snowboards. And so we built a little jump that we were going off of, and I went off the jump and I landed on my butt and back, but somehow, some way, the way I fell, I broke my fourth, fifth, and sixth cervical vertebrae in my neck and suffered a spinal cord injury and was paralyzed from the neck down. And so I was very, very fortunate that my family was there, that called for help, and emergency services came and dug me out of the snow and helicoptered me to the nearest hospital, where I started a whole new chapter of my life. And I'm very fortunate that I got a good amount of return of function. I can move my arms okay. My hands still don't work all that great. I'm a little clumsy, but I have an excuse. And I'm able to push a manual wheelchair, and I can move my legs just a little bit, not enough to walk. But that took years to come back. So I always encourage people that recovery is not usually an overnight sensation, and it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of physical and occupational therapy. And ultimately, I've gone on just to find joy again, and do a lot of things that I thought were initially impossible when I was first lying there in the hospital. And very, very blessed.
One of those things you've done was found the Triumph Foundation, right?
Yeah, so I'm the founder and director of Triumph Foundation, and we got started about 5 years after my injury. And just my heart, I wanted to help other people in a similar situation as me. Basically, life was shattered into 1,000 pieces, and not knowing where to go and what was possible. And it meant so much to me having people that had gotten injured before me come visit and gave me the resources and gave me encouragement. And so I always wanted to pay it forward. And so that's kind of the genesis of Triumph.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. And so for those of you watching today, you may have caught us in our first two episodes of this series. Kelley and Josh we were lucky enough to have them to speak about the first 100 days of being in the hospital and right immediately after being injured and what that experience is like. And then we spoke about what it's like going home and the transition from hospital to home and all that needs to be done to prepare for that. And now we're on a much different conversation, and it's a really happy conversation because this is about thriving after spinal cord injury, which all three of you have done. Absolutely. And so I would love to hear from you guys, what does thriving after spinal cord injury mean to you? Kelley, if you want to start.
Well, I think thriving is a continuum, and every day it manifests itself in a little bit different way. I can certainly say, like, the thing about a spinal cord injury is for most of us, it's a lifelong journey, and that's going to present, new situations and new phases of our lives. And so, you know, thriving for me has looked and certainly felt differently over the years. Today, I can tell you, as someone who's lived several decades into my spinal cord injury, and as someone who has 3 kids and runs a business, thriving looks like the ability to have a lot more control over my life and my day, and being able to use the control I've created to be able to, do the things I want to do. And so, a lot of times that's running my kids around, and I'm really thriving when I make it to all 17 practices with only being like 5 to 10 minutes late, and like not even later than that. But my goal, and a lot of times thriving for me now, is like hitting my workouts when I have them set and staying in that activity level that I want to be. So that's where my thrive comes from. And some days my thrive is, I don't feel like as great of a parent, and sometimes my body is really working against me, but I really hit a great milestone at work, and that kind of carries me through till I can hit the next peak.
Amazing. Josh, how about you?
So it's very, very similar to what Kelly's saying, but I think control, like so much of a spinal cord injury is like we had this whole life of independence prior to an injury. And then especially as a high level quadriplegic, that independence, you find yourself being very dependent on others or dependent on technology. Or so for me, thriving's all about kind of finding purpose within the what you can't control. So if every day I woke up and kind of focused on what I couldn't control, life would be that much harder, and I'd kind of be always down. I'd always put myself in a place of kind of like frustration. But there are so many things I can control, especially within my purpose of wanting to give back, wanting to do good, wanting to have a career, wanting to surround myself with family and love and laughter. So like I find purpose in all those things, but then I find ways that I can actually control it in the sense of of being able to set out what I do for my career. What I, when I wake up, having that purpose to know X, Y, and Z, this is what I'm going to try to tackle today. Or X, Y, and Z, this is who I want to spend it with. And having that choice, having that control, it gives you kind of the foundation of the next level of thriving. Without that foundational element, it'd be a lot harder to thrive because you always get kind of you find yourself being pushed down by life and the injury itself.
Absolutely. And Andrew, how about you? How have you come to determine thriving after spinal cord as we've been having these conversations?
Yeah, I mean, look, too many people think a spinal cord injury is a roadblock, and it's definitely a detour. Definitely takes you on a different course than maybe you had planned, but still being resilient. And like Josh kind of said, setting goals for yourself and ultimately getting out and living life. Too many people are isolated and hide from the world. And so our big initiative is get people out of the house, do something fun, find something that brings you joy again. And everybody has different, purposes in life and different goals and different things that they want to achieve. But I feel like um, there's almost nothing you can't do. You might have to do it a little bit differently, whether it's work or travel or sports or having a family. All those things are achievable. You may not be exactly the same course that everyone else might take, but you can find your way. And I think I'm living proof of that. And I know Kelley and Josh are too. And we just want to help other people, navigate this new journey and help them find ultimately, like Josh said, their purpose in life. And I really believe that there is a purpose, even though in the beginning it feels so overwhelming. You can rediscover yourself, and sometimes it might even have more meaning than you might have prior to your injury.
And that leads me right into the next point of, you all are leading successful careers and home lives and are on quite an amazing journey yourselves, but did your injury actually change that trajectory at all? What were your hopes and dreams, or did you think you were going to have one career and then you were injured and had another? Did your injury change that at all for any of you? Andrew, start with you.
Yeah, so going through college and all that, I was always a working man. At the time, I was working in construction, and so I was swinging a hammer and digging ditches and things of that nature. And certainly, when I got hurt, I couldn't go back to that vocation, and so I had to reinvent myself. I was very fortunate that I did have a degree in business, and so I knew a thing or two about management and things of that nature. And so I like to say I got promoted. So rather than going back to that job doing construction in the field, I became the project manager and started to do the estimating and started to do the bookkeeping and the marketing and things like that. And ultimately, work was really important to me because I had a beautiful woman that stayed by my side, Kirsten, who was my girlfriend at the time. And she stuck it out, even though I thought I had ruined my life and tried to push her away, saying I didn't want to ruin hers too. She told me, I didn't fall in love with you for your legs. She said, I didn't say, ooh, that guy walks real good. I want to go with him. She said, I love you for what's inside. And she told me never to say that to her again. And from that day onward, I knew it didn't matter how long I lived or what I was physically able to do. What mattered was how I lived. And I was determined to put a ring on her finger before she wisened up. And so I was eager to get back to work, to save up enough money to get engaged and ultimately get married. And anyways, that was a big motivating factor for me. And then, yeah, getting back to work was a huge key to me also just rediscovering myself and feeling good about myself. I feel like what you do for a career often defines you and big part of your identity. And so me going back to work in construction, then ultimately moving on into real estate, and then fast forward a few years later, ultimately going into philanthropy, becoming a founder of a nonprofit. I don't have a daddy Warbucks. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just had a heart to serve, and ultimately it kind of created something really special that's impacting a lot of lives. And yeah, I don't know, you know, what I would have done had I not gotten injured. But I can say that I love what I do now, and definitely had a few different pathways. But thankfully, we live in the information age, and so you really only need a smart mind to be a contributor in society. We don't live in the industrial age, so there's really nothing you can't do if you're willing to try. And ultimately, thankfully, with the spinal cord injury, at least, your mind is still very much intact and you're still very capable.
Absolutely. That gave me chills. I love your love story is amazing. That's so sweet to hear. Kelley and Josh, did you guys always want to be lawyers? Was that something, I know you both got injured relatively young, and had you already set out to think about becoming a lawyer? Kelley, how about you?
Well, I think at the time when I was injured, I was 16, so I was still in high school and very young, but I was a tap dancer, and so the most important things in the
I
world
never
to
knew that
me,
about you.
yeah. And
Learn
like
something new every day.
yeah, so the like most important thing in my life like dealt directly with a part of it that I felt had been taken away.
Yeah.
And that's a lot to reconcile for anyone. I feel like certainly for a teenager, and I look back at 16-year-old Kelley and I feel pretty proud of her, but the things that ultimately came fairly obvious, pretty quickly was um that while there were certain things that were such a devastating loss for me that I just wasn't going to be in the cards for me to do anymore, there was still so much there that I could kind of look forward. And, I tell people like the story, and it really was true for me. Like the first time I was in rehab, I was in this long hallway. I mean, it felt like that hallway was going on for like football fields. And in reality, it wasn't that long, but it was like the first time I had been told to like push down the hallway in a wheelchair. And I just felt like if I can ever make it to the end of this hallway, like I can surely just, I can do anything. But I started pushing and I started rolling, and really I never stopped. And so for me, it was like staying busy, finding ways to refocus, staying forward facing, don't like not look in the rear view mirror of what I had to leave behind, but know that there was so much ahead. Not to be overly winded on this, but essentially like people are trying to, it's kind of come full circle to me in the last couple of years. And that's because after people are like, well, you can still be physically active and engaged, and you can do basketball, and here's basketball. I'm like, I couldn't shoot a basketball before I was injured. Why would I want to shoot a basketball now? Like, this isn't Kelley, this isn't me.
Yeah.
And so there was a long period of time where I really struggle, like, where do I fit in this
Yeah.
physical space on moving my body and doing different things? And one thing I think all of us know as we've gone on with spinal cord injuries or life-changing events is like sometimes when a space doesn't exist for us, we learn to create it. And one thing we've done, and like I'm a 40-year-old woman with 3 kids, I'm a lawyer, and I'm pretty serious all day long, but I've like started boxing, and I'm helping build out the world of adaptive boxing in hopes that it'll become a Paralympic sport. So it's never too late to refocus or to change up or create space in a way that you didn't realize, because I'm finding the journey to be pretty fun.
Absolutely. If you go to the pushy lawyer, watch her videos, and then don't get near her when she's training, because it is
Yeah.
scary. She is quite fierce, not gonna lie. Josh, how about you? Did you already have plans of becoming a lawyer, let alone a family man, as we see those beautiful kids behind you?
I never in a million years thought I would become a lawyer.
Yeah.
Not in a million years. Like I was 18 years old. All I loved in life was sports and girls. That was like my focus. I was gonna be a business major. I really enjoyed like the stock market, and I had like a dream internship that summer, and so I was probably gonna go down that route. But my injury kind of slowed things down and helped me find kind of new focus and really made me a much better student than I would have ever been. Like I went from getting, being a solid B student to like being upset if I got an A minus. Like literally, like I was so much more focused in life, and truly I never got the accommodations I needed before my injury. And having a more significant disability kind of allowed me to get specific accommodations, specific technologies. Like I got this reading software that would allow all my books to be read to me. And I never had that before. And I just,
Why, not to interrupt, but do you think your your injury allowed you the space to ask for that, where you didn't feel like you had that before?
I did not have that before. And it's, so now being able to like have, have basically specific, people with certain talents that had more focused within the
Yeah.
disability world. I think I just got to better specialists or
Yeah,
better conversations with more people.
that's
And
interesting.
that was transformative to me for my
Yeah.
education. And it allowed me to like get through law school. And next thing
Wow.
I know, I graduated magna cum laude without ever flipping a page with my fingers. And I think it's just a testament to being able to kind of really like sit down, grind, but also kind of have what focus can do for you. And when you have, you know, when you're on your mission to find something and you got the right accommodations in place, you can tackle a lot of different things that otherwise you thought would never have been possible within a career. But yeah, my injury, being a high level quadriplegic, actually, I would never become a lawyer without being a quadriplegic, which is kind of weird to say.
Right. Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
but like sports were my life before my injury, and it just I'll say two things about this. So one, just to start with Kelley doing her sporting, I never knew in life that I would go to a boxing event and be rooting for somebody in a wheelchair to beat the crap out of somebody else. Like going there and like watching Kelley, get her. Like it's I never knew that was gonna be in my cards. But it's so much fun watching Kelley box. She's amazing, and she comes out with like an intro song and everything else. She's a hype girl. It's
What's your intro song?
Uh, it varies. It
Okay.
varies. The last time I had a fight, I went out to Dolly Parton, so it just kind of
Nice.
depends on my mood.
A good Southern girl. Love it.
Yeah.
yeah. And but like I mentioned before that sports were my world. And after my injury, I just always would get out and go golfing with my dad and my friends. And but I when I went, I was always a spectator. I was always wheel out there and basically just go and be a fan and just wheel along, which was great to get out of the house, be surrounded by so much green. But now when I go out there, I ended up finding a way to invent a new sport called adaptee golf, uses different devices to advance the golf ball. We have a driver that from the face of the club can actually knock a golf ball over 200 yards. And you just, with a caregiver or a caddy, you can say how to direct it, how to aim it, and boom, you're off to your next shot. And then we use a slingshot to get it on the green and a pendulum putting device to get it in the hole. And now we're bringing out nationwide across the country we're going out to Vegas next month to bring it to 10 families. But it's one of those things of thriving. It might not look the same as what it did before your injury, but after your injury, you can find new ways of making it still fun and meaningful. And just I look forward to it as often as I can, just to be able to get out and to do it with friends and family, but actually do it as a competitor, as an athlete again. It's a great feeling.
And in that vein, because I know you all now have spoken about the getting outside and sports, and I guess, Andrew, how does getting outside and keeping healthy and that management of your health play into thriving after spinal cord injury?
Yeah, first I just want to say I want to play golf with Josh. So I need to write down the name of that game and see if I can recruit him. So yeah, look, obviously secondary health complications is a big factor, right? And you have to manage your fears and anxieties. Certain level, it's a good thing and healthy, to be always mindful of the what ifs. I don't want to sit on something hard because I might develop a pressure sore. I need to really be mindful of my bowel or bladder and things of that nature. But One of our big fears is people allow whatever physical paralysis they're dealing with to creep into their mind and their mentality. And so, certain point, you got to take some risks, and I'm going to go for it. I'm going to show up, and I'm going to see how this goes, and not allow the the mental struggle get in your way of trying things and getting out of the house and doing something that'll maybe bring you joy and enable you to feel like you're thriving again. And so, anyhow, sports and community events are a good outlet that I often recommend, especially if they're within our kind of SCI/D population, because there's safety in numbers. You're not the only one there. Maybe dealing with the same kind of mobility impairment, dealing with some of the incontinence issues, dealing with all those other things. And so, God forbid something does happen, you're going to be around people that totally understand and totally get it, and often can offer encouragement and advice and how to troubleshoot when those things do arise. So, a lot of people feel really self-conscious in the beginning. They don't like what they see in the mirror and really feel awkward when other people look at them, and sometimes they're hyper aware and feel like everybody's staring at them all the time, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But on the same note, coming to terms with the fact that you are different, and you are special, and at a certain point, there's some silver linings in that of having front row parking when you go places, because you're now VIP. Now you're a celebrity. Now you're a rock star, is what we call it. And other things like when you roll up to a door, Josh, people open that door up for you, right? Because you're a rock star, you're a celebrity, you're a VIP.
Always.
And oftentimes when you move through a crowd, it's all eyes on you, and they're going to part the sea. Everybody's going to get out of your way because you're a rock star, you're a celebrity, and people are going to remember your name. And you're going to probably impact people in more significant ways than you may have before, and you'll be able to speak truth into other people's lives. People are might be looking up to you. You might be have more magnetic personality because they can see that you've gone through some SHIT. They can see that you've gone through a life-changing challenge, and it's very visible. And everybody goes through some hard times. Everybody goes through those kinds of detours in life. And at the end of the day, it's not, always visible, and people want to be around someone that's gone through something difficult and somehow, some way still lives their life. And so, yeah, there's a lot to say on that subject.
Absolutely. And Kelley, you had talked about, not looking backwards and in all the different ways that you've tried to enhance your life. How does that play in with you about, I know we had spoken before about extra loads, about letting go of things, enhancing your life and all the things that you're doing. How are you going about doing that?
Yeah, I think it's always a work in progress. And so, again, like I'm kind of evaluating where things are in this moment in time for me. I've created basically like I have two non-negotiables um in my life right now. One of that is that I've really strived to get 8 hours of sleep a night. And I know people are like, wow, that's amazing. But I'm like, yeah, I really do, because I've learned that that's what I really need. And so if I have a deadline or I have other things going on, I really try to work around it. So I'm getting 8 hours. The second non-negotiable for me is when I put in the times for me to work out on my calendar, those are locked in, and you need to book around those times, or I have my spouse come in and help with the kids during those times. And so, I don't get to put a top value on all my needs that I have, but if I place a pretty high value on a couple of them, I find that to be manageable, and I really do try to live by that.
Absolutely. And I mean, setting those clear boundaries is really important. Josh, is there any aspect of your thriving that you've gone through where you've had to set those clear boundaries in life?
Absolutely. And so much of life is healthy eating habits, regular skin checks, being able to manage the body. Like I've got a very strong mind and a body that doesn't always do everything I want it to do, because um, and so I have to take care of it every chance I get. It's an investment in my future, and if I ever have like a pressure sore or anything like that, it can take me down a road where I can't thrive as much because I'm either stuck in bed or I'm having to go in and out of doctor's appointments all day long every week. So being able to put the time, like Kelley said, into our bodies and knowing that the more you take care of it, the better it's going to be long term, is key. And I no, I think that's how I'd answer that.
I mean, I
That's
definitely, one thing I think for me, it was like, as a paraplegic, I'm a T11, 12, like I should and do function like very independently. And I almost like hit that so hard that like I had to like reverse myself to think like, yeah, like you can do this, but do you need to be doing this? Like, what stuff do you really need to be doing? And what stuff should someone else be doing to help you so that you can accomplish all the other things that are really important in your life. And so it took me some time. And certainly like understanding it does, you make the sacrifices financially to be able to pull in help. Like I have someone who does all my laundry and puts away my kids and folds it in the way I like it to be folded, because that clears the space for me. Those I've had to kind of make those adjustments and allow myself to like bring help in just so that I can continue to do the things that honestly like really do matter.
So in that vein, because I know at Help Hope Live, we help individuals fundraise for their
Yeah.
medical expenses. Every single day, we have people say, I don't want to ask for help. I don't like to
Mhm.
ask for help. I don't see myself ever doing that. How did you get to a point that you were, and I can't even say if you are okay with asking for help, but at that point you were okay asking for help. How did you get to that point? And is there anything that you can offer to our community about asking for help?
I don't
Yeah.
think I don't think I've found that like sweet spot of I feel okay asking for it. I think I've like had to take it in very small
Yeah.
incremental doing and then seeing that value add and then like, okay, this actually in this way it brought extra value to my life. And so I find another way that I see a deficit and then it's a value add. And I've kind of incrementally grown in that way.
Andrew, did you have something, man?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's really common. People have to learn how to ask and receive help. I
Mhm.
know for a lot of people, they feel like they've always been the helper and not the one needing. And so there's definitely a learning curve for a lot of people. But what I've kind of learned is sometimes you're stealing someone else's blessing. I know for me, even simple things like I mentioned, opening the door or getting pushed up a slope, an incline. People, when they help me, sometimes it makes them feel good. And so giving people that opportunity is sometimes, a rewarding thing that's not all about you. And so with the fundraising aspect, telling your friends and family your story. A lot of people want to do something. They don't know how to react to someone maybe that's struggling and just tell me what I can do. Asking and putting out some sort of need. Sometimes you'll be surprised at the people that come running to your aid. And again, it might make them feel good to contribute towards something meaningful and worthwhile and feel like they did something good. But yeah, it's certainly a learning curve that I had to learn when I first got hurt was I needed help with everything. And similar to Kelley, it's finding that right balance where you want to be as independent as possible, and you don't want to wear out the people maybe that are around you that are offering assistance. But on the same note, knowing like, hey, it's energy consumption, and if it's going to take me X amount of percentage of my ability to do things throughout the day, maybe asking for help with some strategic things here and there is just the smart way to go. And so, yes, I can fully get myself undressed and into bed on my own, but you know what? My wife can pull my shoes and shorts off in 5 seconds. Let her do it so that I don't have to struggle for as long and maybe have a more productive day.
I think you spoke to a real concern about from a lot of our community is about wearing out their community. A lot of times we have the conversations that, I've asked them so many times. And so it really is. And I think that is really valuable about giving someone a blessing. Asking for help adds value to your day. it's something we have a constant conversation with. And you know what, you might be okay today with it, tomorrow you might not be, and it's a roller coaster of being quote unquote okay. Josh, how about you? Because I know obviously you're in a little bit of a different situation in the fact that you need help every single day with almost everything you do.
Yeah,
And
no.
how
Being a
was
high level
that?
being a high
Yeah,
level quadriplegic, paralyzed bone in my shoulders, it's just without help, I wouldn't brush my teeth, I wouldn't get out of bed, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things. But
yeah,
my big thing is after my injury, I found the power of community and being able to embrace community and unleash community on my life and all the things with that purpose, with that focus. So like before like I always try to tell everybody, like, think of life as like a, a journey of sorts. Like before my injury, I didn't really know much about sailing, but then I got into adaptive sailing after my injury. And I'm now the captain of my ship, the captain of my journey. And on this, I'm able to go in many different directions, but if I do it all by myself, it can be a very scary ride. But if I can have crewmates, if I can have friends, if I can have family to be there along my side, I can go to just about anywhere and have the backing that I need to like be able to do it right and do it safely. So like so much for me like is finding that community to be able to trust them and to let them in the door, let them be a part of it. And asking for help is not a weakness. It's really a
yeah.
strength. The second that you don't ask for help, that's when things can go wrong really fast. You can get hurt, and it's a lot more fun, especially if you surround yourself with beautiful people. Like if you can surround yourself with the love and the people in your life that you care the most about, it becomes full of lots of memories. And so like being that captain, being able to choose what you do next, gives you power in yourself as well. And waking up every day, I get to choose what I do next. And I love waking up. I can't wait for the next day and the next day. So
Well, speaking of all those beautiful people and the community that you've been able to surround yourself with, all three of you do have families and you have loved ones that you've surrounded yourselves with. How has your injury played a part in family management, even, and growing up with young kids now in your household? And how, like Kelley said, she has 17 games to get to in a given day. How do you navigate those waters? Kelley, you jump in first.
Well,
Put you on
I think for me, a lot, for the spinal cord injury population, we're very male heavy, only about like 20-ish% of individuals with spinal cord injuries are women. And so the things that women specifically will, potentially encounter and that, have the ability to do are different than males. And when you don't have like a lot of stories or people who have done it before you, it kind of can seem either from the spectrum of daunting to impossible. Um, and so, I always thought that I would become a mom. I didn't really know exactly how that would look like. And as it turned out, I've been a mom through adoption and birth. I have boys and girls. I get to check a lot of boxes now, but I didn't know what adoption would look like as a person with a spinal cord injury, and that's been its own very interesting journey. And then as a woman who navigating pregnancy and birth and raising infants to children now, I mean, there are a lot of particulars, which is why being able to realize that like I'm probably not the first one who has encountered something, but finding those people who have, surrounding and reaching out and on the Facebook or social media, finding those people to be able to create that community. I just recently had a surgery, and I had not been able to talk. I didn't know I didn't know a woman who had had that surgery who had a spinal cord injury, and that gave me a lot of like concerns on what the recovery would be like and what my needs would be and how much help I would need and all those things. And finally, I was able to connect with one person. It was like within a 30-minute conversation, it was like, thank you. And it just gave me that peace of mind, like I can tackle this. I have the tools I need to get ahead of it, and I'll come out on the other side. And I did. So that's been part of my journey is being able to connect with the people that we can kind of build our community and be stronger together.
Absolutely. And I will give a shout out that Kelley was generous to join us a couple of years ago in our Hope Talk series on pregnancy, which was a big thing. So those videos do live on our YouTube page as well. So a great resource for anyone out there in that community or hoping to be part of that community. Andrew, how about you and your family management style?
Yeah, so I mean, becoming a father and having a family was a lifelong dream. And certainly when I first got injured, I thought that was one of the things that I lost. And again, I was very fortunate that I had people who had also had a spinal cord injury, but had families themselves that were able to kind of give me some tips and insight on how do you make babies and what's it like raising kids and all those kinds of things. And so I know for a lot of people they don't have families yet, maybe they want to make one, and then other people that have an injury that already have kids, and how do you still maintain being a parent? And those are difficult things. Obviously being a parent is never easy. I don't think anybody out there that has a child will say it's a simple um, you know science, it's an art. But at the end of the day, I feel like the relationship I have with my daughter, we have probably a tighter bond than probably a lot of other uh, child parent relationships. She's a lot better listener because she knows that dad can't do everything. And so she can tell by the tone of my voice when I really mean it and when she can push the limits. And so she's kind of grown up around me in this situation, but we've also had to learn together on, allowing her some um, opportunity to take risks. Her dad wouldn't be there to catch her, and also, just ways that I could be involved in supporting her, whether it's physical activity or just with being a human being. And one last thing that I'll add is being a father is a wonderful experience, and learning to care for your family is obviously kind of the um, thing that most people worry about. How I can't even take care of myself, how am I going to take care of others? But at the end of the day, it's something that every human being throughout the journey of life has also dealt with these kinds of, what do I do now? No one's quite prepared until you're in the middle of it. And at the end of the day, it's really, really nice to have a family that's there to support me and also to be there to support them. And I feel like with my situation, my wife often encourages me, maybe when I feel like I'm not able to do as much. She says, you do probably more than most parents do because you realize how important it is. And so I go out of my way to invest time. I go out of my way to show up to different practices or schedules and things, because a lot of parents are, and sadly, I don't want to stereotype, but maybe they're not as engaged. I feel like we all kind of have this reckoning that life is fragile and every moment really counts. Every breath is a gift, and to take advantage of it. And so I'm investing more of myself into my family and that relationship that we have.
Thank you for that. And as you said about the tone of your voice, my mother always said that that's why you give your children a middle name. So, when it's serious, when the middle name is pulled out, for sure. Josh, how about you? How do you and your family manage around your everyday needs and schedule even? Because I mean, you are incredibly busy running 100 different businesses.
It's staying busy just is also a beautiful thing with a spinal cord injury, being able to have that focus and being able to actually accomplish things on your own terms. And I luckily get to do it a lot through technology, because once I'm up at my computer, I have my quad stick in front of me and I'm able to control my computer. As fast as I can speak, it types. I'm able to live in this Zoom universe of sorts. Like I'm able to accomplish my day really when I have the technology in front of me and I have the helpful hands around me. But like, piggybacking off of what both Kelley and Andrew were talking about with being a parent and being like, it was always a dream of mine to be a dad. And, after an injury, it was very scary. Like, first of all, am I going to be able to become a dad? Whether, always through adoption, but biologically. I just never knew if that would be possible. But the key that I found over time was hitting up the dating scene, first of all, because you got to get out there to be able to first find that perfect person or to find that match. But so much of since becoming a dad has having that right partner. Being able to find that right partner is game changing, at least for me. Like, I cannot imagine a world without Katie. Like, she, as a mother, watching her in her element and being a part of that, like, it's just like the Katie show of so many ways of, because like physically, I can't do I can't do many of the things of what is, technically what people say is on the checklist of being a parent. But with that, with creativity and with my voice and truly being present is so much of what being a good parent is. Being present and being able to be there with them and creatively coming up with other ways of having those touch points. Because the touch points can be, whether it's physical throwing a ball at the touch points, can be getting on the couch for a family movie night or being able to do like the little things to be a part, creating science experiments or playing cards and doing other things where my caregivers are actually my hands when we do board games and playing Uno, things of that nature. So having that creativity and being there, it's just so much of that is I didn't know what it was going to be like, but every single day I try to figure out new ways of being a better dad and being more proactive in the kids' lives.
I really love that theme of being present, because I think no matter who you are, that's something that everyone strives toward every single day. And so that just really helps enhance and helps you thrive in your life, no matter what situation you're in. And so as we edge toward the end of our hour here, again, if anyone does have any questions or comments, please leave them in the Q&A or in our chat. But for the three of you, if you have one practical tip, maybe a positive tip, a practical tip of something that you have found through your years of living with a spinal cord injury that has made your life a little easier, is there anything practical that you can leave our audience with today? Whether, some sort of tip or trick or something that you have learned through your years of, because you are all well over 10 years in doing this now. I'll give you a hot second to think about it. There you go. Jump in.
It's kind of not, I mean, it's paying attention to what other people are doing and asking questions, being on a podcast like this or listening in and joining maybe a support group or connecting with somebody else that's kind of been there, done that has been the key to most of my success, because you're not the first person and you're not the last. There's plenty of other people that have gone down this path. And yes, they may do things a little bit differently. Yes, their stories might be a little divergent than yours, but you can learn so much on how to put the puzzle together if you have someone else that's done it before. And so that's probably my biggest piece of advice is, don't shutter yourself in. You're not alone. You're not reinventing the wheel. Check out Help Hope Live. Check out Spinalpedia, obviously Triumph Foundation. There's lots and lots of organizations out there that you can tap into. And you'll find out that they're just regular people like you, and we're just trying to figure it out on our own. And the more we can learn from one another, the better off we'll all be. And so you not only might be getting help, but you also might be giving help. And I feel like helping others helps with your own healing. So you probably have a lot to offer as well. So don't be shy. Call me, call Josh, reach out to Kelley, obviously Sunny and Help Hope Live and all the other places out there that we can help just give you advice, or you just be a listening ear and be like, yeah, I know it's hard, isn't it? Sucks. But at the end of the day, don't feel like you're all alone in the world.
Thank you. That is really important. Really, really important.
That was perfectly said.
Yeah, Josh, Kelley, are you going to try to follow that? I don't know.
That was perfectly said. Like,
yeah.
I think the underlying fact of what Andrew is getting at is like, we need to always be mentors and mentees for the rest of our lives. There's always more to learn and there's always more to give. And if we can do that every single day, we're going to be able to be a part of a really beautiful world of giving. Like the spinal cord community has each other's backs. Like we are a community. We speak spinal cord and we're a community. So being able to embrace that we can be a part of this community, we speak the same language, we live the same lives, we get it, we live it, we breathe it, and just being able to be there for each other. Like, I love that I have a career right now that I'm able to wake up and be able to speak with anywhere from, usually on a day of 7 to like 15 different families per day. And being able to then speak with them and be like, I just made an impact in their life. I might have just changed their life in a different course of a direction where I'm a big believer the quicker I can get to families, especially newly injured families in the hospital systems, I can get them on a different path without having to make mistakes. Or Andrew said, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says you have to do it alone, or that you have to make all the mistakes first to figure out the 9 ways of not doing it, so you figure out the one way of doing it. No, like, we can learn from each other, we can be a part of each other's lives. And if the quicker you can embrace that and learn everything you can, because at the end of the day, you need to become your own best advocate, because nobody's going to fight harder for you than you're going to fight for yourself. So learn everything you can, advocate for yourself, find your voice, and fight for your future, and fight for thriving. It's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Kelley, do you dare? Any last words?
No, absolutely not. These guys got it. They know.
Fight for thriving. I think that's really where we might need to leave it. Please, everyone, fight for thriving, fight for yourselves. And as Andrew and Josh, and I know Kelley would have said if she dared, we're all here for that. And we're all here for you. The communities, the resources, we're all here to offer day in and day out, are here to help get you to where you need to be. So I just want to thank you yet again for joining us, let alone for this series, but all of you watching, joining us on our Hope Talk journey as well. There are multiple of conversations on our Hope Talk playlist, which I put in our chat, where you could go back and see everything we've talked about over the last few years. Keep an eye out for what we have coming as well. And thank you to the 3 of you. Truly, we're very lucky to have you in our community. So thank you guys, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, and an honor.
All right.
This was
Bye,
fun.
guys.
Always is.
Always.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Kelley. Bye, Andrew. Bye, Sonny.
See you guys.
Bye.
This conversation go on for hours and days.
It could absolutely go on for hours and days, and it can. We can
Yeah.
absolutely do it again. So
Well, exactly right. I hope all the people watching knows that they can reach out.
yes,
Yeah,
Um,
please.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And I love the playlist. It's so much power in that, all the shows that you've put together. So
Thank you. All right. Well, here's an end to it. Our 3-part series on living with spinal cord injury. And then we'll continue it with the next series, and we'll just continue living with spinal cord injury and find so many different topics. So thank you guys, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye, Sonny.